So which is worse, salt or sugar? Now we know what sodium can do to our blood pressure. We've always been brainwashed telling us, watch our salt, but we've also been brainwashed, watch our sugar. That's the refined and processed sugar, those added sugars. So this is really going to get my brain to work. I think it's going to get yours to work as well. Well, there's no doubt that a high salt diet disrupts the natural sodium balance in the body. This causes fluid retention, which increases the pressure exerted by the blood against the blood vessel walls that we call high blood pressure. And we also know that high blood pressure is a major risk factor for heart disease as well as stroke. And even though you may not be adding that sodium to your food, it's in your food. It's in frozen foods. It's in packaged foods. And there's a lot of foods that you're eating that you may have no idea what you're putting into your body when it comes to that sodium. And sodium definitely attracts water. It likes to go around the gut. It will cause lots of bloating. You're going to feel like you're semi-pregnant, but very uncomfortable. And it will definitely fill those interstitial spaces anywhere throughout your body. It could be your ankles, could be your face, your hands, wrists. But the biggest problem that I find is that people don't drink enough water, and you must drink water when you're retaining sodium. You may think that, oh wow, I'm retaining water, and if I put more water in my body, it's going to get worse. It will get better. It will get tremendously better. This will allow your kidneys to flush out that extra sodium, that fluid out of your body that you're retaining, as well as adding more potassium. Potassium-rich foods are like brother and sister when it comes to sodium. When potassium levels are high, sodium levels are low. When sodium levels are high, potassium levels are low. So if your sodium level's high, start adding more potassium foods, your bananas, your avocados, your apricots, or even supplement if you have to, but I wouldn't if you don't have to. Eat those foods because you will be amazed what your body can do. So what about that refined processed sugars? We know that when you eat sugar, it increases insulin. Insulin increases the sympathetic response within our body, the fight or flight, and that will increase your heart rate and blood pressure as well. And there's one thing that many of us don't know, is that eating too much sugar inhibits the production of nitric oxide. That's within the blood vessels, in the arteries, that causes the arteries to vasodilate. And when it vasodilates, it gets bigger. And that means the heart doesn't have to pump as hard to get the blood to the tissues, glands, and organs. But without nitric oxide, those vessels can constrict, making it harder for the heart to pump the blood to those tissues, organs, and glands. Meaning that the heart has to work harder, pump harder, and that's going to increase blood pressure. And we know that sugars increase insulin because insulin is necessary to get sugar into the cells of our body, into the mitochondria, to give you energy. And we know that we can get sugar from fruits or other foods and vegetables, but if we're getting fiber with that sugar, that natural sugar, that is good. But if you're getting refined and processed sugars, we're just spiking our insulin levels. Insulin is our fat storage hormone. So if you don't burn off those sugars, it gets stored as glycogen in the liver and muscle. And whatever's left over gets stored as fat. But not only fat, it gets stored as excessive triglycerides, excessive low-density lipoproteins, our bad cholesterol. As you raise up the spectrum of our cholesterol and triglycerides, and we raise up the spectrum of more inflammation in our body, this is when we start getting plaquing within the arteries, leading to clogging of the arteries, which can affect the heart, we call it a heart attack, or the brain, we call it a stroke. And it's the high amount of sugars that are floating around in our bloodstream that can affect nerves. Nerves, not only into the legs that we call peripheral neuropathy, or in the arms or hands, but it can affect our eyes, our heart, our kidneys, our brain, as well as other organs. And we have to realize that those nerves that are potentially being damaged can also affect the nerves that affect the heart, or the nerves that affect the arteries going to the heart. And now that you have too much sugar and high insulin, it's going to lead to obesity. And that means that the visceral fat that you may be carrying around in your gut, over your liver, over your stomach, that's the dangerous fat. And that continued high insulin from that sugar is now leading to insulin resistance, prediabetes as well as diabetes, because sugars cannot get into the cells. So if we look at salt here and sugar here, when there's too much sodium, yes, we can lower sodium and we're fine. But the sugar becomes a lot more complicated because now we have metabolic syndrome, diabetes, high blood pressure, as well as other symptoms that are much more difficult to work with. And realize that this inflammatory change that's going on within your body, causing those cytokines, those inflammatory changes within the vessels, that's building plaque from high cholesterol, high triglycerides, extra calcium, as well as those white blood cells that's trying to fix something where the body now is laying down more plaquing because it doesn't know better. And as these inflammatory changes continue inside the arteries, there becomes an expanded pool of circulating monocytes, which is a white blood cell, which are recruited to atherosclerotic plaque in higher amounts, accelerating plaque growth and inflammation. And the main cause of plaque that's building up in the arteries is stemming from high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, obesity, smoking, stress and anxiety, a sedentary lifestyle, as well as a family history of heart disease. They are all key factors for arterial plaque buildup. And this is important. The American Heart Association sugar recommendation states that men should consume no more than 9 teaspoons, which is 36 grams or 150 calories of added sugar per day. And women, the number is lower. It's 6 teaspoons or 25 grams or 100 calories per day. So here's the bottom line. In my opinion, sugar is definitely much worse than salt because it's more complicated. It's driven into many different diseases, as sodium is a slam dunk. You have increased sodium. Yes, we know it can increase blood pressure. And again, we're not saying sodium's good for you. Too much of it is definitely no good. But it's much easier to resolve than it is from the complicated symptoms and conditions from excessive sugars. So start eating healthy. Your fruits and vegetables, your whole grains. Stay away from the canned, frozen, processed, refined. Eat things that come from the ground, your legumes, lots of water, get your sleep, do your exercise, meditate, keep the stress down, and you will be healthy. And please leave your comments below, because I'm sure that you will have an opinion towards this as well. Most important, make it a great day. I'm Dr. Alan Mandell.